Hello. Getting ready to start a new book. We're in Ruth today. And Ruth is kind of interesting. We're going to read the entire book. It's 4 chapters long, so it'll be a little bit longer reading tonight than other nights. And we're not going to go through Ruth on a chapter by chapter basis, but I want to make a couple of points about the book before you get into it. There is a very, very strong messianic foreshadowing in this. So you see Jesus. You've heard the phrase talk about the kinsman redeemer. Jesus is our kinsman redeemer. He took us when we could do nothing for ourselves, and he took us as his bride, actually. We were referred to as the bride of Christ. And so the whole idea of kinsman redeemer is important. And when you're going through that, there's not a specific reference to Old Testament law that comes to this, but there's a couple of passages that come together. One of them is in Leviticus chapter 25, and the other one in Leviticus chapter 27, if you wanted to look into that. Another thing that's interesting about this is that Ruth in the Hebrew Bible is not placed at the same position it is in the Christian Bible. Our Bible has it right after Judges, which is where we're looking at it, and that's because historically that's where it sits. But from a Hebrew perspective, it sits in what's called the writings, and in a particular section referred to as wisdom literature. And in many of the Hebrew Bibles, not all of them, but in many of them, Ruth comes right after Proverbs, which is very interesting because in Proverbs 31, you have this wonderful description of the good wife. And many of the phrases that are used to describe the wife in Proverbs 31 are used to describe Ruth in the book of Ruth. So as you're reading through this, look for those things. Look for how the scene is set up. Look for what Boaz does and how he treats Ruth. Look at chapter 3, which is very interesting. How Naomi sets up the relationship between Ruth and Boaz so that they can talk. Now, a lot of people will tell you that that's a very scandalous thing that she did. Probably not quite as scandalous as we'd like to make it out in 21st century thinking. What she's really doing is Naomi is setting up an opportunity for Ruth to talk to Boaz about something very, very important. And he could very easily have said, no, I don't want anything to do with this. And she sets it up in a time and a place where they can talk privately. Boaz is presented as a very good man, and he comes and he redeems Naomi and Ruth. One interesting thing is that I'd really not ever paid attention to, and that is in chapter 1, verse 6. Remember that the reason they're in this situation is Elimelech and Naomi and their 2 sons have left Israel and gone to Moab because there's a famine in the land. When you get to chapter 1, verse 6, look and see why they decided to go back to Israel and how it's worded. I think all that fits together very nicely. I hope you enjoy the reading. It is one that is fascinating, and there are many, many, many lessons to be learned from it. But just take a look at it and realize how it's going to end. It's going to end with the introduction of David as a great-great-grandson. And we are going straight from Ruth into 1 Samuel, where it won't be long, and we're going to see the whole life of David played out. All right. I hope you enjoy. God bless you in your reading. Talk to you tomorrow.